Well, I'm going to start out standing.
Okay.
If I don't make it, I'm going to sit down on you.
All right.
My name is James. My last name is P, better known as Payne. I try not to be a pain. I try not to sit in the back of the rooms for fear that someone's going to call me pain in the rear. The best thing that ever happened to my mother was February the 5th, 1950. I'm lying. No, that wasn't the best thing. Because I was born 13 pounds, 8 ounces. And that was rough for her. She started out weighing, my father said she started out weighing 98 pounds when she became pregnant. But because of sugar, she blew up to be over 200 pounds. Not only that, she was very fond of the bottle. So my formula was water, sugar, milk, and whiskey because I was having withdrawals. And at the age of 8 months, my grandmother felt like it'd be better for us to come down and live with her, my older sister and I. And that's what we did. We went there, a little place called Ranneman, North Carolina, where Richard Petty's from, a race car driver. And that was very exciting growing up there. I had an uncle that was 10 months older than I was. And he thought it was very amusing for entertainment to sneak me out of Aunt Neat's house and take me down to the main house. And him and his friends and his girlfriend would dance to a song called Lordy, Lordy, Miss Claudia, you sure look good to me. And they would give me a sip of moonshine at the age of 4. And that was entertainment for them. They also taught me how to blow O's from cigarettes. I blow an O and I get a kiss on the cheek from the girlfriends. Life was good. I didn't know anything different, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. We was in tobacco country, so at the age of 5, as big as I was, I could go prime tobacco with the rest of the kids. That's pulling off the bad leaves. And anyhow, you're working in the field. And either with tobacco, you was either dipping it, sniffing it, chewing it, or smoking it. But it was just as common as a cold. And that was in the 50, 55. 56. So, and moonshine was a part of life. My grandfather, he would make a little bit, sell a whole lot. No, he had 15 kids, and my mother was in the top 4. And what happened, the oldest one would go away and work and send money home, and the children would stay with the grandparents. But he worked in the sawmills, worked a regular mill job, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, and he snaked logs, go in the woods and cut down logs, hold up a tree, and take it in to the sawmill and get it chopped up. He would let me work with him when I was about 8 years old. And I'd go in the woods with him, and he'd let me get on the other end of the log. He'd carry the bulk of it. But if I was sloughing off, he'd lay more weight on me. So I had to learn to carry my own weight at a young age. Work ethic was something that he instilled in us. I know one time my cousin from New Jersey came down. He was going into the 9th grade. And he wanted to play football. So he asked Big Daddy, he said, can I go to the gym and work out? Big Daddy says, we'll see. And anyhow, my job was slopping the hog. We're really carrying the wood in, but since Fred Jr. came, that was going to be his job. So Big Daddy would load his arm up. And he says, that's enough? He says, yeah. Big Daddy would put one more on there. And he'd take it in. Now, when he came down, he had this pretty pink shirt, short sleeve. And but we didn't wear it during the summer. We were, but when I have bareback is what we called it, bareback and barefooted. We run through the woods and just have a good time. I had a horse that I call Trigger because I seen one on TV called Trigger, so my horse was Trigger. But it was a stick that I stuck between my legs, and I run with it. And that's how I had fun with Trigger. But it was just a way of living, working hard, playing hard, and anyhow, the summer came and went. And Fred Jr. kept asking Big Daddy, could he go to town to work out, go to town to work out? Well, the summer came and went, and Fred Jr. got ready to put his shirt on, and it didn't fit. It didn't fit. So he bulked up and didn't even know he was bulking up just by working. And that was the way we did things. We worked hard. And I kind of enjoyed that part of life. My aunt beat me one time because a dime was missing. And she told me, she says, "You took the dime." I said, "No, I didn't, Aunt." She said, "You took the dime." I said, "No, I didn't." She said, "You're lying." And she beat me. And she says, "If you lie, you'll steal." And I says, "I'm going to prove her different." I said, "For 1 year, I'm going to steal anything I can get my hands on, but I'm not going to tell a lie." And that's what I did. I stole. And if you ask me, I'd tell you the truth, no matter what the consequences was. And then I had to learn how to steal and not let them know that I was stealing and let someone else get blamed for it. And that's where I learned how to con. I didn't know that, but I was learning how to con somewhere. So my grandma died when I was 12, and I had to move back with my mother. In doing that, like I said, I learned how to con. Christmas came, and I went to a music store. It had people in it. And I walked over to where this guitar was, and I pulled the tag off of it and walked up to the counter and asked the man, I says, "I got a guitar for Christmas. Can you tune it for me?" And he said, "Sure I can." And he tuned the guitar and he gave it back to me. I said, "Thank you so much." And I walked out the door with the guitar. So that's how I got my first guitar. I still can't play a guitar today. Yeah, so, but life was good. I thought maybe I'd try to do some burglary while I was in the city of Boston. And I learned how to wear soft shoes, soft bottom shoes, leather jacket. The reason why you wear a leather jacket is that when you're sneaking in someone's house, your jacket don't get caught. And if it does, it doesn't tear that easy. Soft shoes meaning that they can't hear you when you're going in the house. And you always scale the wall and get in on the second floor because the window was always unlocked the majority of the time. So that's how you would get in. I tried that for a while, and work ethics that I received from my grandparents came into play. And I learned that it would be better for me to get a job and go to work, and that's what I did. I got a job working at a grocery store delivering wine, beer, and cultural meat because it was a Jewish store. So I did that. And anyhow, the man would give me food, but I had to bring him back pieces of paper with a lot of change. People was giving me change and numbers and on these papers. And one time this man wrote down the numbers, 4 across and 4 down, and it was like 16 numbers. And they gave me some change. And I went back and I couldn't find the paper, but I remembered the numbers. So I told him what the numbers were. I told Julius what the numbers were. And he says, "Are you sure?" I says, "Yeah, I'm sure." So his wife Esther called the man to find out what the numbers were, and they were exactly what I told him. So Julius had to run. He ran out and came back. He said, "Can you do that all the time?" I said, "Do what?" He says, "Can you remember people's numbers like that all the time?" I said, "Yeah, I can do that." So I did that. After I'd done it for almost a year, my best friend Eladio says, "You know what you're doing?" I said, "What am I doing?" He says, "You're running numbers." I says, "I'm what?" He says, "You're running numbers for the mob." I says, "Oh, okay." So I went to Judas and I asked Judas for more money. And he says, your mother come down here and get what she wants. And he says, I deduct it from your pay. He says, but she can come and get it any time. I said, but I still need more money. He says, well, I'm not giving you no more money. So I started stealing from him. I'd come in the morning and take a case of wild Irish rose and put it in the garbage can. And then as the garbage would come on top of it, I'd take it out to the dumpster and dump it. I'd come back and I put a case of Thunderbird. What's the price? 30 twice, many nice, awful nice. I'd put that in there. And I'd have 2 cases, and I'd take my grandfather's coat in the back of St. John's Church. That's where they would allow the winos to sleep. And I'd go down there and I would sell it to them. Well, this fella told me, instead of selling that, I got something else you can sell. So I started selling something else, making good money. I had a Mercedes when I was 15 years old. Couldn't drive, didn't have license, but Eladio and I had a Mercedes from selling other stuff. I moved my mother into a different house. Life was different. I was in the fast lane, and I never stopped drinking. Oh, let me ask the question. Do you mind if I talk a little bit about drugs? Because drugs are part of my story. Okay. All right. I never stopped drinking. At the age of 14, I had a spike in my arm. And I listened to what my grandmother was telling me. She was dead, but she was talking to me in my head. Seemed like to me, the higher I get, the more she would talk to me. The more I would think about the different principles and things that she taught me. And I didn't know how to get free from the drugs and the alcohol. So I figured the best thing for me to do is take James and go from Massachusetts to California. So at the age of 15, I left home and never looked back. I got there, and I said I'm going to stop drugging and drinking, and I didn't. I tried, but it didn't work. I got a chance to do something that I wanted to do. I traveled to every state. I graduated from high school, and I traveled to every state in the United States except for Alaska. I was looking for a place called home. You know, I couldn't find it. But I had this thing when I'd go to a party, and I'd walk in there, and I'd look around, and there was Lady A. She was the baddest thing in the room. And I'd look at her for a while, and I'd study her. And then I would pursue her. And I'd spend the rest of the night trying to get her to go home with me. And if I walked out the door with her, I did a good thing. If I didn't, I still did a good thing because I was pursuing the baddest thing in the house. So it was a win-win situation for me. So when I was traveling to these states, I asked myself, what's the best country that I can think of to live in? And I came back to the United States. That was the best country that I could live in. And that's why I went to every state trying to find a place called home. Well, when it all came down to it, the only place I could think of was Massachusetts. I was familiar with it. So I went back there and tried to set up housekeeping. That's when I ran into a program called AA, and I ran into a religion of my choice. And for 22 years, I enjoyed the program. So at the age of 20 to 42, I was right on time all the time. And everything worked out well for me. I left drugs behind, left alcohol behind, and I had a good time. We would go pick up people and have a meeting before the meeting, and after the meeting, we'd have another meeting, go to a restaurant, sit around and talk at 12 o'clock. Sometimes they ask us, we're getting ready to close. So we'd have to leave, but we was enjoying life, and that was a life. When I was 42, I made $1 million and lost $1 million. lost $1.2 million to be exact. I did strip malls, and that's because of AA. It taught me how to learn trades from different people. I'd call people and ask them, do you have work today? And they say, yeah. I said, well, if I come and work for you, how much you gonna pay me for the day? And they tell me, and I go to work for them. And I learned all kind of trades, could build houses. But make a long story short, the last project I did was the Charlotte Convention Center. We did the interior completion. And I was in over my head, and I had a nervous breakdown. But I still finished the job on time like I was supposed to. Didn't miss an opening date. But then that's when I went buck wild. You name it, I did it. If I didn't do it, I was there when it was done for the next 10 years. They diagnosed me as bipolar. And my wife, she should have had me put in jail, or she should have had me dead, or she definitely should have divorced me, but she didn't. And after 10 years, going into the 11th year, I asked her, why didn't you divorce me? She said, for the first 17 years, I had the perfect man for a husband. She says, and I was hoping he would return one day. Well, I'm still working on that. I haven't got there yet. I'm still working on it. It's like going 55, 65 miles an hour and you slam on brakes. The wheels stop, but the momentum keep on going. And so all those years of drugging and drinking for those 11 years, 10 years, is still taking a toll on me. I still have a selfish, self-centered inclination to do things that ain't right, but is this my, no, this ain't my phone. No wonder it ain't working. All right. Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking, well, wait a minute now, my battery's done gone dead or something. Yeah. What happened?
It's all right. It should be all right. Let's see. Yeah, you still going.
Okay. All right, we're good. We're good. I just don't want to run out of time. Enough of me. Let's talk about the real deal, which is recovery. This time around, I found out it was very important for me to get a program that works. I got a sponsor. After getting a sponsor, I found someone to work the steps. Working the steps is one thing, but you have to apply them. You just can't work them. You got to apply them. The next thing I found was a necessity is to get a network. Get people in the program that are doing what you need to be doing yourself or what you want to do. When I say that, there's people in the program that are there for other reasons. Why are you here? I ask myself that question, why am I here? Well, I'm here because I need the program, and I want the program. I'm not here to play, fool around, chase women, or party or whatever. I'm here because I want my recovery. And that's something you have to ask yourself and answer. Only you can answer that question. Whatever you want, you can get it in the program. You want to make a bunch of money, you can make it in the program. What it is that, it comes down to what is it all about, When you walk out of these doors or go back home or wherever it is you're going, you have a choice. At least I had a choice. I could walk out the door and go to the right and go right back to the nonsense, the foolishness that I was doing. Or I could go left and leave all the things behind and go on with my new life. I knew it wasn't going to be easy, but I knew it would be a whole lot better than what it was that I was doing. But that was my choice, and I chose to do this. So for the past 18 years, the 22nd of November, no, the 27th of November to be 19 years that I've been doing it. So for the second time. And I don't have any regrets, I appreciate the steps. Step one helped me to appreciate honesty. Now, I used to lie, and I enjoyed lying once I got things squared away. You know, those 11 years I was out there, if I opened my mouth, I was lying, you know. And I was convincing myself that I was telling the truth. You know, I was a lying connoisseur. What I mean by that, I just lie just to be lying. You know, white is a pure color. Mean something is pure, so I tell a white lie every now and then. Then I tell one of those promoting lies. You promote something, you know, for some reason you make somebody feel good. You tell one of those lies that kind of glorify them a little bit, you know. Then I tell one of those destructive lies, a lie that I try to hurt somebody with. You know, I tell one of those. And then every once in a while I tell just a clear lie, a lie that you could see that was a lie. Ain't nowhere in the world it could be the truth, but I tell it anyhow. And then I tell one of those lies that was devastating, where it would affect a person down the road years later sometimes. But I was just a lying connoisseur, so honesty in step one is something that messes with my head even today. How you doing, James? Fine. My whole world is falling apart. That's a lie, really. But instead of saying, how you doing, James, instead of saying, fine, it's okay to say I'm alive, you know, or I'm trying to do the next right thing, you know. We can come up with something else other than tell that little lie, you know. And that's what we need to do. At least that's what I need to do in order to do that. The second step has to do with hope. The principle behind that is hope. And that was the last thing I lost when I was out there. The last thing I lost was hope, you know. And when I came back to the program, that was the first thing I got, was hope, you know. Hope that, came to believe that the power would do something as far as my sanity was concerned. Now, I'm still crazy as a bedbug, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong, but the sanity that I'm talking about is that obsession and that convulsion that you have is no longer there. I don't know when it happened, don't know how it happened, don't even know where it happened, but I just know that that obsession is no longer there. And that's the beauty, you know, of not being insane, not worrying about how am I going to get my next drink or how am I going to get my next whatever, you know. Faith. I had faith that I would come here today. The third one is faith. I had faith that I would come here today and eat a good meal. And I did. Man, was it good. I had a good meal. Yeah, so, and it says faith is the assured expectation of things hoped for to not be held. You know, and that's what we have to do. We have to have that faith that it's going to happen to us, with us, and for us, and that a higher power will bring that about. Now, that's something else that you have to deal with, is a higher power, you know. In working the program, I had to come up with a higher power. I had to come up with something that was greater than I, something I could depend on, something that I could work with, something that was loving, kind, forgiving, helpful, and most of all, dependable. It wasn't easy because I didn't have room for a higher power, you know. If these hands couldn't make it, I couldn't do it because I depended on me. For whatever reason, I didn't depend on nobody else. Good, bad, right, or wrong, I depended on me. And here I am having to ask something that I can't even relate to be there for me, you know. And then I had to turn around and learn how to pray. Through Christ Jesus, amen. Learn how to pray, you know. And I found out just as easy as it is to pray, it's just as easy not to pray, you know. So I had to learn how to pray. What are you doing? I do a shout out sometime. Be trying to do something God help me, amen. That's what I call a shout out, you know. I ain't got time. I got to get this thing fixed, whatever it is that I'm doing, you know. But I want your help. So then I do those long ones sometimes. Somebody said, put your shoes under the bed when you go down to get them. While you're down there, say a little quick prayer. Well, I get down, I have trouble getting up, so I don't put them down there. I don't put them underneath the bed. I don't do that now. I don't do that. Step 4, the principle behind that is courage, you know, and I had mixed feelings about that, because courage was go back to step 1, which is honesty. I had to be honest in order to do step 4. And step 4 was the easy subject because the subject was me, you know. But I had to be honest, and I had to be able to tell it. Now, what really caused me problem was the step 5, which was integrity. I had to be willing to tell it to someone, and I cheated. I told you a proportion of it. I told you another proportion of it. And I told you another proportion of it. But I never told one person the whole story, because I didn't want them to know the whole story. My sponsor said, James, he called me out on it. James, what are you doing? He says, you're telling the truth, but you're deceiving people. You're deceiving yourself. He said, if you really want to work the program, tell one person the whole story. Dog it. And I did. And it wasn't as painful as I thought it was, you know. It wasn't as painful as I thought it was. Step 6 was willingness. Dealing with your character defects. It's like having a bunch of buckets with lids, and the lid pop up, and you put the lid back on, and something else pop up, you put that back on, something else pop up, you put that back. But you're constantly putting lids back on because your personality is manifesting itself on a regular basis. And some of these character defects you don't want to let go. At least I didn't, because some of them I enjoyed having. You know, selfish, self-centered, controlling. I didn't want to let go of that. I didn't want to submit, you know. And even like they said, if I really want this program, I had to submit to it, you know. And I remember wrestling with Fred Jr., and he got me down, and he's on top of me, and I'm holding him. And I says, okay, I'm going to let you let me up. And he's pinning me to the ground. I mean, but I'm going to let him let me up. Now, how ridiculous is that? He's on top of me, you know. But I didn't want to submit. But they told me in order to get the program, I have to submit. And if I have trouble submitting, at least be willing to back up. If you can't submit, at least be willing to back up, you know. Give yourself a break. Humility comes in when I did step 7. It's like admitting my shortcoming. It's like 6 and 7 kind of goes together. I got a car in the garage and it's got 4 flat tires. That's 6. 7 is when I get in the car and drive it around town with 4 flat tires. So I'm manifesting that. I'm not doing anything good. Like the other one, I have trouble cussing. And I know I got trouble cussing. And so 7 is I go around cussing people out, you know. So those are things you want to do to work on. And those are things I need to do to work on. 8 is what I have is love. It's when I make a list of people that I've hurt. That's a loving act. Now, what is the meaning of love? The perfect love is complete unselfishness. That's not going to happen on this side of Armageddon. It's going to happen on the other side because I'm not going to be that kind of a person. You know, I'm not going to be complete unselfish. There's things about me that's going to be so selfish that I ain't going to be able to let go. May want to, may need to, but I'm not going to let go. So I'm admitting that shortcoming. Perseverance to discipline. Discipline came with step 9, and that's when the rubber hit the road, when you have to do something about what it is that you've done to other people. And you don't want to cause some, you know, like if you have a relationship with a man's wife, you don't want to tell them, man, I have a relationship with your wife, cause that much differences, but you want to do something about making it better than what it was. Just don't have a relationship with her no more. You know, go on with your life. Let bygones be bygones. You know, but there's certain ways of handling such things. You want to be able to write letters to some people that you ain't gonna come in contact with. Some people you may need to write letters and burn it afterwards. You know, it just depends on what it is you need to do. But you need to do something. And that's the whole purpose of having a sponsor. You know, you can run it by your sponsor, you know, because they're there for you. They're there for your welfare. And if you have a group of people that you can call on, a network, you know, you can run things by your network because they have your interests at heart. The perseverance is when you take a personal inventory of yourself on a daily basis. Run it at the end of the day, trying to figure out what it is you did do or didn't do. And you can do it in the middle of the day. You can start your day over any time. And that's what you want to do because you want to be happy, joyous, and free. That's the whole purpose of having a mindset that's not going to hold you down or tie you up or put you back in a position to where you think less of yourself. Because when you start thinking less of yourself, you want something to pick you up, and you don't want to turn back to the things that you're coming from. I need to get a pair of glasses. Awareness. Yeah, awareness. It says sort through prayer and meditation. You know, sort. I remember when I was in college, I turned around and didn't wash my clothes, so I had to sort through my underwear and see which one I was going to wear, you know. But it says sort through prayer and meditation, you know. It's different. You get it right. You find out who you're praying for and what you're praying for. And then service is a necessity. That's 12. You have one hand out, reaching for help. And you have another hand back, helping someone. And that's called balance. Balance is a beauty to life. And you want to be balanced in this program. You don't want to be an extremist. You want to find yourself doing the next right thing so right things can continue to happen to you. I found myself looking at life, wondering, what was I going to do? I knew what I had done in the past. I knew where I was, but I wanted to know what is it that I was going to do. And one of the reasons, or one of the things that I set out to do was set down short-term goals, immediate goals, and long-term goals, things that was obtainable. Sometimes just getting out of the bed and getting ready for the day was a goal. I still have bipolar. I still have days where I'm manic. I feel like I can do anything. I try to do everything, and I don't do nothing. And I have those days that are depressed. I'm so depressed if I fall into a deep, dark hole to where it's so dark I don't know which end is up. And I see a glow of light. I work my way to it. It's either a bottle of pills or a gun. At that time, I have to go to the hospital. And they take me off my medication. They straighten me out, find out what it is I need, and then they say you can go home now. It's been 6 years since I've been in the hospital, so that I'm doing something right. When I was out there and my wife wanted to fix me, for those 10 and a half years, I went to 20 different programs, over 20 different programs that she put me in. I came here two times. I didn't get it right the first time, and then 11 months later, I was right back in here. My wife was determined to fix me, but the bottom line is I had to stop digging. I had to stop digging. And when I stopped digging, and it's when things started changing. And once it started changing, I realized that I had gotten 22 years in the program. And I could get some more days. And days led to months, months led to years. And I'm standing here in front of you. I take medication now, and it's giving me early parts of Parkinson. But I had rather have that than the crazy days that I had before. They used to call my wife and say, your husband is at the mall giving away money. So she had to come down there and get me. So I don't have no checking account. I don't have no credit cards. I have an allowance of $150 a month. And that's to buy food and give it away. I give dollars away to little kids. I tell them, they're with their parents, and I ask the parents, I said, can I give them something? And the parents, I hold $1 in my hand. I said, can I give them something? They say yes. So I tell the little woman, I says, listen, I got a job for you to do, and this is what I want you to do. I want you to listen to your mom and dad and do what they tell you. I said, can you do that? And they said, yes. Sometimes they don't know what to say, and the mama say, tell them yes. So I tell them, I say, but each job got a hard part, so this is the hard part. When they tell you to do something you don't want to do, I want you to do it anyhow. So can you do that? Then they say yes. They say, I give them $1. Yeah. But I be giving away money, so my wife get on to me about that. But she lets me have it. When I run out of my money now, I don't get no more. I don't get no more, But I have very loving friends that watches over me and work with me. I was coming down here, and I said to Paul, Paul, what's that part in the big blue book that tell you can have fun, that you should enjoy life? And he said to me, page 132, it tells you that this is a program where you can live a full life, that there's nothing wrong with having fun. And he recommends that you have fun. If you talk to him, you'll find out that he has a unique sense of humor. And that's why I love him like I do. I had a death in the family. My sister in Macon, Georgia, died. And he drove me down there. He wouldn't take no money from me. The only thing he let me do is put gas in the car. That's all. He drove me all the way down to Macon, Georgia. That's the fellowship that you get in these rooms. He asked me, I said, what are you doing this for? He said, when he came in, people would pick him up, take him to the meeting, do all kinds of things, wouldn't accept no money. And they told him, said, when the time comes, you do that for somebody else. And I remember the first 22 years, that's what I did. I picked people up, take them to meetings, take them to the hospital, take them to the doctors, take them to the relatives, and I enjoyed every bit of it. I enjoyed the fellowship and the brotherhood that was developed. And y'all going to have some relationships that's going to be ongoing. I still make contact with the people that I met in 2005. And we keep up with each other, They encourage me and I encourage them. And that's what it all comes down to. I You want to be free in this program. There's this fellow that was talking to the judge's daughter, and the judge told him, either marry her or I'll put you in jail for 20 years. So he married her. And then on her 20th anniversary, he went downstairs to the basement. He was, "Ooh, ooh," and woke her up, and she came down there. She said, "What's wrong, honey?" He says, "If I'd have went to jail, I'd be free today." So we want you to be free. We don't want you to be in bondage to what it was that you were tied to as far as drugs and alcohol is concerned. We want you to be completely free. And that's possible. And the reason why it's possible is because you're worth it. You're worth it. If you wasn't worth it, you wouldn't be sitting here. You'd be finding some way to get out of here. And even though your mind tell you, I want to get out of here at different times, your body says you need to stay here, and you do. Your body and your mind need to work together and let your heart be the seed of motivation and tell you to do the next right thing so right things can continue to happen to you. I was talking to a young lady, and she was listening to her, and she said her drug of choice messes with her, that she still have a hankering for it. Well, a bird can land on your head, but you don't have to let it build a nest. So get it off your head. These thoughts that comes, get them off your heads. The thing that you used to use, don't dwell on it. Learn to hate it. Learn to say, I hate it. And manifest that thought. There's this little boy that was their man lived on top of the hill, and he was a wise old man. The little boy wanted to trick him. So he took a bird out of the cage and put it behind him. And he said, both hands. He said, now, I'm going to put my hand around this bird's neck. And he says, I'm going to go to the wise old man and ask the bird, ask the wise old man whether this bird is dead or alive. He says, the wise old man said the bird is dead. He said, I'm going to pull it out and show him that the bird's alive. If the wise old man said the bird's alive, he said, I'm going to squeeze his neck until he's dead and show him that the bird's dead. So he goes to the wise old man and he says, wise old man, is this bird dead or alive? The wise old man looked at him, turned his head to the side and smiled and said, whether the bird is dead or alive, it's all in your hands. So when you walk out this door, whatever happens to you is all in your hands. It's time for us to live a different life when we leave here. It's time for us to be the person that we need to be, but most of all, the person that we want to be. None of us grew up as a little child and played with the dolls or with the cars or whatever and says, when I grow up, I'm going to be sitting in these chairs. We didn't say that when we was playing, And no matter what your profession is, you're still sitting in these chairs, and that ain't what you want. So do something different about it. I'm going to put myself out there. If there's anybody have any questions or anything they want to ask me, feel free to, because I'm through talking.